Many directors believe that 1 minute is too short to tell a story effectively. I disagree. I believe that it's mainly a matter of understanding the advantage of short time and the strategies for telling a story. The best examples of ultra-short films have always been commercials, whose television tight times require for creative and directors to formulate a very short storytelling and sometimes achieve extraordinary results. But I want to show you something concrete.
Darryl, dear boy, look at you.
Where have you been?
It's been 10 years.
I did wait.
Wow, 10 years, huh? Where have you been? Just looking.
Did you find love?
Yes, I found love. I found a lot of things. Sorry. I guess I'm just a restless soul.
Beautiful and touching, this film is actually a TV commercial made by Michael Hausman for Replay Jeans in 1995. This version is taken from a 12 minutes long film and is far more emotional and effective. In order to better understand storytelling, let's try to observe the timeline. I've divided the individual shots and colored differently the 5 moments of the story. The film begins with the introduction of the protagonist and the people waiting him.
Darryl, dear boy, look at you.
Where have you been?
It's been 10 years.
I did wait.
Wow, 10 years.
Then a second part where we begin to see his memories of an extraordinary journey.
Did you find love?
Yes.
The third part is introduced by a question that brings us into a painful and tormenting memory, followed by a rebirth through spirituality. In the final sequence, we see him leave away again, aware that he cannot longer stop. This is the emotional story of 10 years of life of a man who has traveled the world and experienced an unbridgeable grief, and who saved himself thanks only to the encounter with a monk. All this in just 1 minute and with 52 shots. But let's go back for a moment to the structure of the story. If we analyze the plot, we can see that it's divided into 3 parts. The setup that includes the introduction and travel memories, a violent breakdown in the central part of the film, and the resolution in the last part. And just like a 3-act structure, we can recognize 2 plot points. The first at the beginning of the breakdown, when we hear the woman's question.
Find love?
And the second at the beginning of the resolution part, when the leaves are opened. It's amazing to see how the editor who created the 1-minute version managed to leave the story structure intact and keep the vision fluid. On this film there will be a lot to analyze, but I want to limit myself to a couple of director's notes that looks very interesting to me. First of all, on 52 shots, only 3 have a camera movement. All the others are masterfully composed, fixed shots. Let's try to observe the film by placing a vertical mask in the central third.
Darryl, dear boy, look at you.
Where have you been?
It's been 10
As you can see, the gaze is concentrated in the central part of the frame almost all the time. The shots with a different composition are also those of longer duration. This allowed the viewer to not get distracted and remain almost hypnotized by the flow of images. It may sound strange, but forcing the viewer to move his eyes a lot during a vision of a sequence of events so fast, it could mean running the risk to confound him and losing the sense of the story. Now, let's look to the composition of some of the film's framing. Impressive. It is appropriate to say that every frame is a painting. All these elements contributes to build a real visual poem that enchant and move the emotions at the same time. Before concluding, I want to ask you to focus your attention on a small part of the film that we will now see slow it down. It's an alternate sequence between Darrell and the woman. Darrell moves his eyes and sees the hands with the rings. Then the camera returns to her in an isolated frame and she tells him that she waited for him. Darrell's smile closed the scene. These few details tell us another story preceding what we see in here. In just 6 seconds. This subplot is perceived subliminally in the beginning, but in the last part the close-up on the tear that falls in her face completes the puzzle and gives us all the elements to understand also this level of the story. But it's not over. If we look closer at the last shot, we'll see that is not what it looked like. First of all, Houseman has positioned an African boy on the frame to make us think that he is returning to those places, but look more closely. It doesn't look like the inside of an airplane at all. The seat in front of him is not of an airplane, and the windows are too big. I noticed these little lies just after several years. Cinema is a powerful art. There's still a lot to analyze, but the purpose of this video is to deny a cliché, for which in a minute you cannot tell an extraordinary story.